He pretended to sleep and discovered what the alien sisters really wanted. Captain Rian Cole closed the door to his quarters and let out a long breath. The quiet hum of Argent Gate Station was the only sound left after a full day of managing security for the Galactic Concord Summit. 12 hours of noise, orders, and alien languages had worn him down to the bone. He wanted nothing more than silence and darkness. "Computer, lights off," he muttered. The room dimmed until only the soft starlight from the viewport remained. He had just begun to drift when a soft click echoed from the door. Not loud, but wrong. His hand froze midway to the pillow. Years of security training told him what that sound meant. Someone had overridden the lock. He didn't move. He slowed his breathing, pretending to sleep, while his hand crept beneath the pillow toward his stunner pistol. The door slid open. Two silhouettes stepped in, quiet, graceful, almost floating. He heard a whisper in accented common. "Are you sure it's safe?" "Yes." I looped the feed. "We have 20 minutes. Rian's heartbeat thudded. Looped the feed. Whoever they were, they knew exactly what they were doing. The room smelled faintly of salt and flowers. Bare footsteps padded closer. Then a cool finger traced along his forearm. He moved fast, snapping the wrist, sitting up, and pulling the stunner free in one smooth motion. The lights flared on. Two women froze mid-motion. They were unlike anything he'd seen. Blue-toned skin that shimmered like deep water, hair silver as mercury, eyes like molten stars. Both wore sleek silver suits that seemed to shift with their movements. "Evening," Rian said evenly. "You've got 10 seconds to explain before I call security." The taller one smiled calmly. "No need for that. I'm Sarah of Thalassa Prime. This is my sister, Nyla. We mean no harm." "You broke into a security officer's room," Rian said. "That's harm enough." "We only needed to talk," Nyla replied softly. "During the day, too many eyes watch us. Tonight, fewer lies." "You looped the cameras," Rian said. Sarah tilted her head proudly. "Only the corridor. We are careful." Rian studied them both. Thalassans, peaceful empathic species. Curious. Unpredictable. "What do you want?" "An escort," Sarah said simply. "For tomorrow's gala. We're new to human customs. We need someone who understands, your kind." Rian frowned. "And you couldn't ask at a normal hour?" Nyla's lips curved slightly. "We weren't sure you'd say yes if others were listening." He sighed. "If I say no now, then we leave," Sarah said. "And you'll see us again tomorrow, surrounded by rivals who'd love a scandal." Rian hesitated. They weren't spies, at least not in the usual sense. But every instinct told him this situation was dangerous in another way entirely. He lowered his weapon. "Next time, you knock." Both sisters smiled. The tension in the room melted. "We accept your rule," Nyla said gently. Rian rubbed a hand through his hair. "Rule number 1, no more door tricks. 2, if I say move, you move. 3, no touching." Sarah's eyes sparkled. "Understood. Though our people sense emotion through touch, it's natural for us." "Not for me," Rian said flatly. He opened the door. "Come on. I'll walk you back before someone catches you here." The three moved through the quiet corridor. The stars outside spilled silver light through the windows. Sarah looked out at them. "The Vorkins won't like you walking with us," she murmured. "They don't like much," Rian said. "They call it duty," Nyla whispered. "We call it a cage." Rian said nothing. He stopped outside their quarters and checked the lock. "Tomorrow, 1900 hours. Outside the ballroom. Don't be late." Sarah bowed slightly. "We'll be there." As the door closed, the faint scent of their perfume lingered. Salt, metal, and something like storm air. Rian stood alone for a moment, replaying every second in his head. Two alien sisters had broken into his quarters, looped station security, and asked for his help. He wasn't sure what was more dangerous, them, or the way they'd made him forget how tired he was. Rian Cole woke before the station lights shifted to morning. He hadn't slept much. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw silver hair, blue skin, and those glowing eyes watching him in the dark. He showered, dressed in his uniform, and checked the station logs. No sign of the Thalassan sisters' break-in. Whoever had looped the cameras knew their systems too well. That alone made him uneasy. His comm beeped. "Captain Cole," said Admiral Sato, his voice sharp as ever. "You've been requested by name. The Thalassan delegation wants you as their security escort for the summit gala." Rian blinked. "Requested? By name?" "Apparently you made quite an impression," Sato said dryly. Accept it. They're valuable allies. But remember, you represent all of humanity. No mistakes. Yes, sir. Good. And, Captain, try not to start an interstellar incident this time. When the line went dead, Rian just sighed. Too late for that, he muttered. He arrived at the Thalassan quarters 30 minutes later. The air inside was cooler, scented with salt water and faint electricity. The walls shimmered with soft blue light, like sunlight through ocean waves. Sarah stood near a wide window, her silver hair braided with tiny glowing stones. Nyla sat cross-legged on a strange living couch that seemed to breathe slowly beneath her. Captain, Sarah greeted. You came early. Old habit, he said. Soldiers don't like surprises. Nyla rose gracefully. We want to apologize for last night. We acted without permission. Breaking into a security officer's room is more than acting, Rian replied. True, Sarah said with a faint smile. But it worked. You're here. He folded his arms. You said you needed an escort. Tell me the truth. What are you really after? The sisters exchanged a look, silent words passing between them. Then Nyla spoke softly. We sense what others feel. It's called resonance. Every living mind gives an emotional tone. But humans, she hesitated. You resonate louder than most. Rian frowned. You can read minds? Not thoughts, Sarah said. Only emotions. The warmth of courage. The shadow of fear. The spark of desire. It's like hearing music no one else can. That sounds like a privacy nightmare, Rian muttered. Sarah stepped closer. For us, it's normal. But your mind, your emotions, are clearer, stronger. When we were near you last night, we felt something pure, untamed. Probably stress, Rian said. I had 12 hours of it. Nyla shook her head. No, it was honesty. You feel what you say. You hide nothing. That's rare. Rian looked between them. So that's why you picked me? Because I'm an emotional signal? Sarah smiled. Because you're real. Silence hung between them for a moment. The hum of the station filled the air, deep and slow. You'll escort us tonight? Nyla asked finally. I'll escort you, Rian said. But we do this by the book. No tricks. No sneaking into quarters. Understood, Sarah said, though her eyes sparkled with mischief. But one thing you must know before the gala. What's that? When Thalassans touch, emotions connect. You may feel ours, and we may feel yours. Rian froze. You mean, if I touch you? Only if we allow it, she said softly. But yes, the link is strong. It can confuse some humans. He stared at them both. Then I'll keep my hands to myself. Good plan, Nyla said with a gentle laugh. Though it might be difficult when the music starts. The what? The gala dance, Sarah explained. It's tradition to open the summit with a symbolic dance of unity. Each delegation performs. We will join it, and you, our escort, will join us. Rian groaned. I'm not a dancer. Then you'll learn quickly, Nyla teased. The galaxy will be watching. He looked out through their viewport. Beyond it, stars burned cold and endless, like 1,000 unseen eyes. Something tells me this gala's going to be trouble. Maybe, Sarah said softly, moving beside him. But not all trouble is bad. Her voice held warmth that pressed against his chest. Not words, not touch, just feeling. It startled him. Stop that, he said, taking a step back. Whatever you're doing. I wasn't, Sarah replied. That was you. He opened his mouth, then closed it again. For the first time in years, Rian Cole, soldier, officer, survivor of 3 wars, felt something he couldn't explain or control. He turned to leave. I'll meet you at 1900. Or something that doesn't start diplomatic fires. Sarah grinned. Captain, the Thalassans are the fire. As the door closed behind him, Rian tried to steady his breathing. The station lights dimmed to soft gold, signaling the coming evening. Somewhere behind those walls, alien diplomats plotted trade, power, and peace. But all Rian could think about were 2 sisters who could feel what he felt, maybe even before he did. He had faced soldiers, pirates, and assassins. But this might be the first time he faced himself. The main ballroom of Argent Gate Station glowed like a suspended star. Transparent walls framed the black ocean of space, while soft music, crafted from sounds of a dozen worlds, filled the air. Every corner shimmered with light, color, and pride. Delegates from over 30 species mingled beneath a dome of swirling constellations. Captain Rian Cole stood near the entrance in his polished uniform, wishing for a battle instead of a gala. The chaos of politics always made him uneasy. He adjusted his collar for the 10th time and scanned the crowd. Habit, not curiosity. Old instincts never slept. Then he saw them. The Thalassan sisters entered like living artwork. Sarah wore a flowing silver gown that shimmered like liquid moonlight. Nyla's was a deeper tone, faintly blue, threaded with strands of light. Their luminous skin caught every reflection, turning them into twin auroras gliding through the hall. The hum of conversation dipped as they approached. Rian swallowed hard and straightened his jacket. "Captain," Sarah greeted, her voice calm and melodic. "Do we meet your standards?" He tried not to stare. "You'll do fine." "You look uncomfortable," Nyla said gently. "I'm a soldier," Rian replied. "Crowds make me nervous." "Then stay close," Sarah said with a sly smile. "We'll share our calm with you." She took his arm, and the moment her hand touched his sleeve, warmth rushed through his body, steady, soothing, almost electric. It wasn't his calm. It was hers, shared through their empathic link. They moved deeper into the ballroom. Everywhere, eyes followed. Some curious, some hostile, especially from the Vorkan delegation, tall, broad, and dark-scaled. Their leader, Ambassador Crow, stood by the refreshment sphere, his golden eyes tracking Rian like a hawk. "Don't look now," Rian murmured. "But your friends are glaring." Sarah's grip tightened slightly. "They are not friends. The Vorkans once tried to merge their bloodline with ours. We refused." "Why?" "Because they believe love can be arranged. We don't." Before Rian could respond, a familiar voice interrupted. "Captain Cole," barked Admiral Sato, appearing beside him with a diplomatic smile. "You're quite the sight tonight. Try not to start another scandal." Rian smirked. "Working on it, sir." Sato nodded to the sisters. "Representatives of Thalassa, welcome. Humanity is honored by your presence." "The honor is shared," Sarah said smoothly. "Your captain has been most disciplined." Rian coughed. "We're learning from each other." The Admiral's eyebrow rose, but before he could reply, the music changed. The rhythm softened, slow and graceful. Lights dimmed into hues of silver and violet. A voice from the stage announced, "The Unity Dance, symbol of peace among worlds." Delegates began forming pairs. Sarah turned to Rian, eyes gleaming. "You promised not to run." "I said no touching," Rian muttered. "Then consider this an exception." She and Nyla each took one of his hands. The moment skin met skin, the air seemed to pulse. The link opened, three minds brushing like ripples on water. He felt it all, Sarah's bold joy, Nyla's quiet warmth, their shared amusement at his discomfort. And they felt his heartbeat hammering behind calm eyes. The dance began. Slow circles, gentle turns. But unlike the humans, the Thalassan rhythm carried emotion instead of steps. Every motion released waves of feeling, trust, curiosity, laughter. It wasn't just dancing. It was speaking without words. Around them, the crowd paused. Conversations stopped. Even the holographic stars seemed to dim, as if the universe itself was listening. Rian moved as if guided by instinct. He wasn't trained for this, but the resonance between them guided his every motion. For the first time since the war, he felt truly connected. When the music faded, the hall was silent. Then applause broke like thunder. Humans clapped. The aquatic races whistled through gills. Even the robotic envoys emitted soft harmonic tones. But not everyone applauded. Ambassador Crow's golden eyes burned with fury. He turned and stormed away, his guards following. Rian felt the shift instantly, the atmosphere cooling, tension crawling like static through the air. "That didn't seem like applause," he said quietly. Sarah's expression darkened. "The Vorkans won't forget this. They think we belong to them," Nyla whispered. "And you just proved otherwise." Moments later, a station attendant approached, bowing slightly. "Representatives of Thalassa," he said. "Your father, High Counselor Talion, has arrived unexpectedly. He requests a private meeting at once." Sarah and Nyla exchanged uneasy glances. "Our father wasn't supposed to attend," Nyla said under her breath. "Change of plans," Rian replied. "And I have a bad feeling about it." Sarah met his gaze. "You'll come with us?" "I'm your escort," he said simply. "Where you go, I go." As they left the ballroom, the applause behind them faded into whispers. The stars beyond the glass seemed colder now, sharper somehow, like eyes watching from the dark. Rian's instincts stirred again. Something was wrong. This wasn't just politics anymore. This was the quiet start of something dangerous. The walk to Conference Chamber Delta was long and quiet. Rian could hear the soft echo of footsteps, the low hum of the station's core, and the distant murmur of music fading behind them. The air felt heavier now, as if the walls themselves knew something serious was coming. Sarah and Nyla walked ahead, their movements slower, more cautious. Neither spoke. Their usual confidence was gone, replaced by a nervous tension that even Rian could feel without any empathic ability. The door slid open with a hiss. Inside, waiting beneath the soft blue lights, stood High Counselor Talion, tall, broad-shouldered, his silver hair trimmed short like polished steel. His eyes, sharp and bright as cut glass, turned toward them the moment they entered. Beside him loomed a familiar figure, Ambassador Kral of the Vorkans. His golden eyes glimmered with triumph. "So," Talion said, his voice deep and resonant. "The reports were true. My daughters have chosen to make a spectacle of themselves." Sarah bowed her head slightly. "Father, do not call me that in public," Talion interrupted, his tone cold. "For now, you are representatives of Thalassa, not my children. And your behavior tonight has brought shame upon our world." Rian stepped forward. "With respect, Counselor, they've done nothing wrong." Kral's lips curled. "The human speaks again." Rian ignored him. "They followed the event traditions. The unity dance is symbolic, peaceful. No one was harmed." "No one," Kral said mockingly. "My people watched as Thalassan daughters entwined themselves with a human soldier. That image will burn across the network before sunrise. You think peace comes from humiliation?" Talion turned his gaze on Rian, studying him as if weighing his soul. "You are Captain Cole," he said, "security chief of this station." "Yes, sir." "Then you understand discipline, order, restraint. Tell me, Captain, was this display disciplined?" Rian met his eyes steadily. It was honest. Talion frowned. "Honesty is not always strength." "Maybe not," Rian said quietly. "But hiding truth never built peace either." For a brief moment, something flickered behind the old diplomat's cold expression, something human. Then it vanished. Kral stepped closer, towering over Rian. "Your species believes emotion is virtue. That's why you'll always be the weaker race. You mistake impulse for strength." Rian didn't move. "Funny, I was thinking the same thing about arrogance." The Vorkan growled, low and dangerous. "You dare insult." "I dare defend them," Rian cut in. "Because unlike you, I don't believe people should be owned by alliances or bloodlines." The silence that followed felt like gravity. Talion's voice finally broke it. "Enough." He looked at his daughters. "You've spent your lives under protection of your name, your station, your power. Yet you still act like children chasing emotion instead of purpose. Do you understand what your dance has done? You've provoked the Vorkan delegation, insulted an ancient treaty, and endangered years of diplomacy." Sarah straightened. Her voice trembled, but not from fear. "Then the treaty deserves to break. We are not property to be traded for peace." Nyla stepped beside her. "And if unity demands our silence, then it is not unity, it's slavery." Kral laughed softly. "Beautiful words for two naive empaths. When your father returns to Thalassa, he'll remember where his loyalty lies." "Ambassador," Talion said sharply, "you will hold your tongue." Kral's eyes narrowed. "For now." He turned toward the door, brushing past Rian deliberately. "Enjoy your borrowed freedom, human. It won't last." When the doors closed behind him, silence filled the chamber again. Talion walked to the viewport and stared out at the stars. The light caught the edge of his face, hard, tired, uncertain. "You are bold," he said at last without turning. "Few humans speak to a Vorkan that way and live to tell about it." "I've faced worse," Rian said. "Perhaps," Talion replied. "But you've also just placed yourself in the center of something far older and far more dangerous than you realize." Rian folded his arms. "Then tell me what I'm in the middle of." Talion sighed, a sound too weary for someone of his power. "The Vorkans believe our species must merge. A political bond sealed by genetics, not love. They call it destiny. I call it control. I've resisted for decades. Now they use my daughters as pawns to finish what I refused to start." Nyla stepped closer. "Father, He raised a hand. "You've made your statement already. Whether I agree or not, it's done. But your actions tonight will ripple across every council hall from here to the homeworld." He turned back to Rian. "And you?" Captain will be blamed first. I've been blamed before, Rian said simply. I can take it. Talion studied him again. Slowly, a faint, reluctant respect touched his expression. We will speak again, he said. For now, leave us. Rian nodded once and stepped out. As the door closed, he exhaled hard. His chest felt tight. He'd stood before warlords and pirates, but somehow this old diplomat and his two luminous daughters made his pulse race more than any battlefield. Behind him, the faint echoes of their voices faded. He didn't hear what they said, but he could feel it through the strange bond that had formed between them. Fear, defiance, hope. Whatever this was becoming, it was far from over. And for the first time in his career, Rian Cole wasn't sure which side of the war he stood on. Sleep never came. Captain Rian Cole spent the night at his console, replaying the argument in the conference room. Every word from Counselor Talion and Ambassador Krall felt wrong. Too careful, too rehearsed. Years of security work had taught him that when diplomats smiled too much, something dangerous hid behind it. At 3 o'clock hours, he began digging through the station logs. And that's when he saw it. 3 unauthorized access attempts inside the environmental control grid, all traced to Vorkan technicians, hours after the gala. They'd overridden safety protocols, left no alarms, and signed off under diplomatic immunity. Rian leaned back slowly. That's not curiosity. That's preparation. He opened a secure channel. Lieutenant Hayes, he said. Cross-check Vorkan crew movements for the last 12 hours. Use manual verification. Hayes hesitated. Sir, that'll flag a political notice. Do it anyway, Rian replied. Quietly. By 4 o'clock, the report came through. The same Vorkan group had visited Ventilation Junction 14C, right beside the main conference hall where the signing ceremony would take place tomorrow. Rian felt the chill creep into his stomach. He grabbed his toolkit and sidearm. Some things couldn't wait for permission. The maintenance shaft was narrow and cold. His flashlight cut a thin beam through the dust. The deeper he crawled, the louder the machinery hummed. Somewhere above, thousands of diplomats slept, dreaming of peace. Below them, he was crawling through its shadow. At Junction 14C he found it, a small silver canister, magnet clamped to the ventilation line. It wasn't military, too clean, too elegant. A soft pulse blinked once every 2 seconds. Rian pulled out his scanner. The reading made his chest tighten. Aerosol dispersion unit. Target compound, neuroinhibitor. Human-specific response pattern. So that was the plan. Not war. Not assassination. Something quieter, paralysis, confusion, chaos among the human delegates. Enough to collapse the treaty before it even began. He tapped his comm. Admiral Sato, this is Cole. I've got a device in the ventilation grid. Possible chemical agent. Static. Then the Admiral's tired voice. Can you confirm origin? Vorkan tech markers, sir. Custom encryption. Copy. Disarm if you can. We need proof. Rian exhaled slowly. Understood. He set to work. Each movement had to be exact. The canister was wired to a timer and a motion sensor. One wrong touch and the gas would flood the ducts. He'd defused bombs before, but never one designed for peace conferences. Sweat dripped down his neck. The tool in his hand trembled slightly. He locked the valve, cut the power lead, then eased the primary capsule free. The pulse stopped. He sealed the unit inside a containment box just as the comm crackled again. Captain, came Sarah's voice, quiet and strained. Something's wrong. The Vorkans have requested a private meeting with our father. They insist he bring us. Rian froze. Where are you now? In the diplomatic wing. They're sending guards to escort us to their ship. Don't go, he ordered. That's not an invitation. It's an abduction. He switched frequencies. Security control, lockdown Dock C and Delta Corridor. Now. Then he started crawling back, fast. Metal scraped against his boots. Behind him, faint echoes carried through the vents, heavy footsteps. Someone else was down here. A shadow passed under his light. 2 Vorkan guards, armed. They'd realized the canister was gone. Rian killed his lamp and moved silently through a side shaft. The metal creaked under his weight. The guards shouted in their language, their boots clanging closer. He reached a junction and slid through an access hatch, dropping into a service corridor. Alarms began to flash red. He hit the deck comm. Security, I have the device. Sending coordinates. 2 hostiles in pursuit. Copy, Captain, Hayes replied. Admiral's on his way to intercept the Vorkan party. Rian ran. The containment box felt like it weighed a ton, but he didn't let go. Every second counted. The air was filled with sirens and shouting, but under the noise he could still feel something else, a pulse of fear and anger that wasn't his own. It was the sisters. Their resonance reached him even from across the station, a desperate signal that burned through his chest. He pressed his calm, "Sarah, Nyla, hold your ground. Help's coming." Her reply came back faint and trembling. "They're forcing us toward the docking bay. Father's resisting. There's fighting." Rian's jaw tightened. "Then I'm ending this now." He turned a corner, slid to a stop beside two security officers, and handed them the containment box. Proof of Vorkan sabotage. "Get it to the Admiral, sealed chain of custody." They nodded and ran. Rian drew his stunner, rechecked the charge, and sprinted toward Dock C. He could already hear the clash of voices ahead. Human orders, alien roars, the sound of weapons arming. He didn't care about politics anymore. This wasn't about treaties or titles. It was about keeping his promise, to protect the sisters who had trusted him, even when their own father doubted them. As he entered the docking bay, blue lights strobed across the floor. The Vorkan guards were dragging Sarah and Nyla toward a waiting shuttle, Counselor Talion standing defiant between them and the ramp. Rian raised his weapon and stepped out of the smoke. "Let them go," he said, and every head turned. The docking bay burned with chaos. Blue alarm lights flashed across polished steel, casting long shadows that jumped like ghosts. The hiss of engines and shouted commands echoed off every wall. Rian Cole stood at the center of it all, weapon drawn, voice calm. "Let them go." The Vorkan guards froze, heavy claws gripping the Thalassan sisters' arms. Counselor Talion stood a few feet away, blood trickling down his temple where he'd been struck. His robe was torn, but his eyes still burned with defiance. Ambassador Krau turned slowly, golden eyes gleaming under the emergency lights. "You again," he said coldly. "Always the human hero, standing where he doesn't belong." "Funny," Rian said, his weapon steady. "I was thinking the same about you." Krau smirked. "You think you can stop this? You're one man." "Correction," came a voice from behind. The bay doors burst open as Admiral Sato strode in with a team of armed security officers. He's not alone. For a second, the tension broke, the air still, like before a storm. Krau's smirk vanished. "You have no right to interfere in a diplomatic meeting." Sato's tone was ice. "Then why are my officers finding illegal bioagents in the conference ventilation systems? Human targeted, Vorkan design." A ripple of shock moved through the crowd. Even the Vorkan guards hesitated. Krau's expression twitched, but recovered quickly. "Lies. Fabricated evidence from a desperate species clinging to power." Rian stepped forward, holding up a data pad. "We have the device. Your technician's fingerprints are all over it. It's over." Sarah and Nyla stood silently behind him now, their wrists still bruised from where the guards had held them. But their eyes, those silver, glowing eyes, were locked on Krau, cold and clear. The ambassador laughed, low and bitter. "You think you can arrest me? I hold diplomatic immunity." "Not anymore," Sato replied. "Your government just revoked it." Seems they didn't know what their ambassador was planning. Krau's face twisted, the mask finally breaking. "You think your fragile alliance can survive without fear? You humans are chaos wrapped in flesh. Every world you touch burns." Rian's reply was quiet, but it cut through the noise. "Maybe, but we build from the ashes. You only hide in them." For a heartbeat, nothing moved. Then Krau roared, a deep, guttural sound, and lunged. His strength was monstrous, but Rian sidestepped, driving an elbow into the alien's side and shoving him off balance. The guards reacted instantly, weapons raised. Sarah's voice rang out like a bell. "Enough!" A sudden pulse of energy rippled through the air, resonance, amplified and raw. The sisters' empathic power flared, invisible but overwhelming. Everyone within reach froze as waves of emotion crashed through the room. Fear, truth, exhaustion, guilt. The Vorkan guards staggered, clutching their heads. Krau dropped to one knee, snarling in confusion as his rage dissolved under the flood of feeling. Nyla stepped forward, her eyes shining like liquid silver. "Do you feel it, Krau? That's what honesty feels like. It's heavy, isn't it?" He gasped, trembling. What are you?" "Showing you what you've buried," she said softly. Your fear of losing control. Your hatred of freedom. You hide behind order because you're afraid of choice. Sarah's hand brushed Rian's arm. Through the link, he felt her pain. Pushing her power this far hurt. But she didn't stop. Talion looked at his daughters, awe and fear mingling on his face. Enough, children, he said hoarsely. You'll burn yourselves out. Sarah let out a shaky breath and stepped back. The pulse faded. The air fell still again. Rian holstered his weapon and grabbed Krau by the collar. You tried to poison peace. You failed. The ambassador spat something in his own language. A curse, maybe. But there was no fire left in him. Security restrained him and the guards, marching them toward the corridor. As they were led away, Krau turned one last time. You think this changes anything? You've made enemies you can't even name. Rian met his glare. Then I guess I'll start learning their names. When the bay finally emptied, silence settled like dust. Admiral Sato turned to Rian. That was reckless. Yes, sir. But effective. He looked at Talion and the sisters. Counselor, we'll need your statement. And theirs. Of course, Talion said, his voice quieter now. Captain Cole saved more than my daughters tonight. He saved my people from their pride. Rian gave a tired nod. Just doing my job. Nyla smiled faintly. You always say that. But it's never just a job. The Admiral stepped aside to give them space. The sisters stood facing Rian, their hands intertwined, their emotions soft now. Relief, gratitude, and something else unspoken. You could have died, Sarah said softly. Would have been a first at a peace conference, Rian replied, half smiling. She shook her head. You risked everything for us. I promised to protect you. Not just us, Nyla said quietly. You protected what we believed in. Their words sank deeper than he expected. For a long time, Rian had lived by orders, ranks, and rules. But tonight, none of those had guided him. It was something simpler, something human. As the station's alarms dimmed and the hum of engines returned to normal, Rian looked around the bay, now littered with broken tools and trampled footprints. Peace had survived the night. Barely. He turned back to the sisters, the corners of his mouth lifting. So what happens now? Sarah met his gaze, eyes glowing in the fading red light. Now, Captain, we tell the truth. 3 days later, Argent Gate Station was quiet again. The alarms were gone, the smoke cleared, and the banners of peace fluttered gently in the artificial breeze of the central atrium. But for Captain Rian Cole, peace still felt fragile, like glass repaired after a crack. He stood at the observation deck, hands behind his back, watching the stars drift slowly past the transparent wall. Ships departed one after another, delegates returning to their worlds, carrying stories of what had almost become a tragedy. He heard footsteps behind him, light and familiar. You're leaving without saying goodbye? Rian turned. Sarah and Nyla stood in the doorway, wearing soft travel suits of shimmering fabric that glowed faintly with the station lights. They looked different now, calmer, stronger, older somehow. The chaos had changed them. I figured you'd be too busy saving the galaxy again, Rian said with a faint smile. Sarah stepped closer, her tone gentle. You've been standing here for an hour. We can feel it, that heaviness inside you. He looked back at the stars. Maybe I'm just not good at endings. Then don't end it, Nyla said. Change it. Before he could respond, the doors opened again. Admiral Sato walked in, followed by Counselor Talion. His silver hair neat again, his bearing formal, but not cold this time. Captain Cole, Sato said. We have new orders for you. Rian turned, half expecting a reprimand, maybe even reassignment. Sir. Sato exchanged a look with Talion. The old counselor gave a slow nod. After the Vorkan exposure, the council voted to establish a joint security division between Earth and Thalassa Prime, Sato explained. A bridge between our species, built on trust rather than treaties. Talion's eyes softened as he looked at Rian. We need someone who understands both discipline and empathy. My people trust you. My daughters trust you most of all. For a moment, Rian couldn't find words. You're offering me a permanent position as Earth's representative to Thalassa, Talion finished. Commander rank. Full authority to form a new peace division. Rian let out a slow breath. He'd faced assassins, pirates, and alien wars, but this offer felt heavier than any weapon he'd ever carried. I'm honored, Counselor. Truly. Sato smirked. Then it settled. Try not to start any rebellions down there. As the Admiral left, Talion stepped closer. You remind me of what I once admired in humans, he said quietly. You fight for what's right, even when no one tells you to. Rian nodded. Guess we're just stubborn that way. Talion almost smiled. That stubbornness may be exactly what our galaxy needs. He turned toward the door. My daughters will guide you to the shuttle when you're ready. When he was gone, silence filled the deck again. Sarah looked at Rian, her voice soft but steady. So, you're coming to Thalassa. Seems that way. And you'll live among our people, work beside us. He met her gaze. If you'll have me. Nyla stepped closer. We insisted on it, actually. Rian blinked. You what? Sarah grinned. You didn't think we'd let you vanish back to Earth after all this, did you? For the first time in days, Rian laughed. Not the sharp, cautious laugh of a soldier, but something lighter, human. You too are trouble. Maybe, Sarah said. But you're the one who opened the door that night. He shook his head, smiling. You broke in. And you pretended to be asleep, Nyla teased. That's practically an invitation. The three of them stood by the viewport. The stars outside burned brighter than ever, endless, untamed, alive. Rian took a deep breath. When does the shuttle leave? Sarah's voice softened. In 1 hour. Then I guess we have time, he said. For what? Nyla asked. He turned to them, eyes steady. For one last promise. They waited. No matter what happens out there, he said, I'll protect your world like it's my own. Because maybe that's what it's time for, to stop thinking of them as separate. Sarah reached for his hand. The moment their skin touched, the resonance flared again, but this time it wasn't chaotic. It was calm, balanced, shared. Nyla joined them, completing the circle. 3 heartbeats, 1 rhythm. Human. Thalassan. Beyond both. You've changed us, Sarah whispered. Rian smiled. You've changed me first. The intercom chimed. Shuttle departure in 60 minutes. The moment broke softly, like a sunrise through mist. They walked toward the airlock together, their reflections gliding across the glass floor. 1 man, 2 luminous figures, all carrying the weight of 2 civilizations now tied by something more powerful than politics, understanding. As they reached the end of the corridor, Rian glanced back once more at the endless dark beyond the window. Somewhere out there, other threats were waiting. Other challenges. Other stories. But for now, peace had a face. And it was human and Thalassan, together. Sarah squeezed his hand gently. Welcome to a new beginning, Captain. He smiled faintly. No, just Rian. And with that, the doors closed behind them, sealing the past away and opening a future that neither human nor alien could ever have imagined alone. Out there, beyond the glass, the stars shimmered, brighter than they ever had before. Because now, they had someone watching back.